This week's episode is sponsored by Helio Gas Detection and Rising Suns, the award-winning brewery in Cork.
Hey everybody, this is Richie from the Metal Cell podcast. I'm delighted to welcome back Jude from Acid Age. How are you, man?
Hey man, how are you? I'm keeping good. We took the COVID, but other than that, it's all good.
Yeah, we're all good, man. You can't breathe it through the screen anyway, unlike others that tried passing notifications and stuff on to me there. Joe, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. Happy New Year, guys.
Yeah.
And you, Joe, Happy New Year.
The last time we all three of us were together was April 2021, imagine. So you still you still have the COVID, Jude.
I tell you, I've had it all this time.
Oh my God.
I've had so many vaccines that it was just like acupuncture, just like a pin cushion.
And we're just out of Christmas. Did any of you buy any stuff music wise? Books, CDs, albums? Did any of you make any purchases over Christmas?
I probably I didn't go too mad this year. I behaved with everything, with drinking and all. But for me, it's sort of all about making a big deal for the kids now, And
Okay.
they had a lovely Christmas, so that makes my Christmas really,
Yeah. So you didn't treat yourself to any pedals or anything like that, anything at all?
No, but the girlfriend got me some nice stuff for the guitar, some nice sprays and cleaning and stuff to clean the rust off your metal and your hardwares and all that. And some nice microphones and stuff. Yeah.
Jude, you probably do the same thing. You probably do the same thing as me, man. Where like at Christmas, you just sort of sit and look at all the Gibsons that you're thinking about getting whenever we become rich and famous. Like.
Yeah, that's it.
You mean you're not there already, Joe?
No, well, I don't fancy shelling out insane amounts of cash for something that I mightn't like. It's weird. Like I kind of started playing guitar whenever you could go into shops, and like being left-handed, it's harder. But it's the weird thing about buying guitars online. Sometimes you'll buy one and you'll just get it and immediately go, "Oh, this doesn't feel right."
That's it.
It might be out of the house quicker than you imagine,
Oh. You should maybe, before you even do an online purchase, see if you can have an opportunity to play a guitar, sitting down first for a while. And I actually know a guy who's a really good friend of mine, and he won't buy any guitar unless he plays it first. And when I say plays it first, he has to like get a good 2 hours of playing it before he'll even think about it,
Yeah. Our old guitar player, Kevy in Gamma Bomb, what he would do is he would go and buy a Gibson like Black Beauty, like £3,000 guitar, and play it for 2 weeks and then send it back.
Kevin still does that.
And he did it with the 335 and an SG and everything, just because he's like, no, it doesn't feel right. Back you go,
Fucking hell. And what one did he eventually settle on, Joe? Do you know?
Well, he won't mind me telling you, he's a grumpy git. Like, he hasn't settled on anything yet,
But at least with buying Gibsons and expensive guitars, they kind of retain their value, So it's not like buying, an Ibanez RG, like £400 guitar that's going to plummet, He's actually buying something that'll go up in value. So I guess there's that.
Did you get anything, Joe, anyway, musically wise, for Christmas?
Did I get anything apart from COVID? No, not really, man. I got like a new audio interface for recording drums and stuff. So.
How much does that say about?
Did you get one of the big Scarlet ones?
Yeah, I got one of the big Scarlet Yokes. What was it? I think it was like 500 quid or something like that. So
yeah, we've one that we used to do our demos. They're class.
Yeah, very, very, very good. And before Christmas, I got this plug-in, and it's the best thing I've ever bought. And it's just a silencer basically, so it means that like you stick it onto your snare channel, and you're only going to get snare. You don't get it. Removes all bleed for every drum basically. So. Does the job. But I suppose we'll talk loads about home recording as we get into this anyway.
Yeah. So what I got was Jane's Addictions, Whores. Brendan Mullen wrote it. It's fucking class.
What is it, an autobiography type thing or?
It's a biography of Jane's Addiction, taken from around I don't know, was it 10 or 11 big massive interviews he did with him through Spain. Remember that magazine, Spain?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm getting back into my Jane's Addiction buzz after I don't know how many years, especially since they're playing for the first time in Ireland. I'm guessing it's the first time because if they had played before, I surely would have gone to see it. And then I was in Golden Discs in Cork looking for a bargain, and then I saw Metallica Kill 'Em All, the new re-release, $40, and I went, nah, fuck that. So what I did come away with was the Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street,
Lovely.
for €16. It's yeah, it's a double vinyl, high speed mastering audio. So it's class. I'm delighted with that.
I'm fucking desperate, man. I stopped buying vinyl because I was doing things like buying Escape from New York soundtrack and then just using it to roll joints on and listen to it on Spotify. Like, you know, it was just like, right, I need to stop buying vinyl until I start actually playing it again, you know?
Yeah.
I was guilty of that for a while too. I actually gave away all my vinyl. And the other thing is, it sort of isn't my era. It was never really like whenever I was going to school, it was all CDs. Everyone was buying
Yeah.
CDs. You know?
Yeah.
So like I still have all my CDs and I still buy CDs. So it's just
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
was pointless me having this big rake of vinyls that I wasn't listening to. You know?
And actually, now that you mention it, Jude, Semper Pessimus, that CD booklet that you brought out was class.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the wee
And
digi book.
it's sold out.
It has indeed, yeah. We actually we done a couple of runs of it. And they all went. We've still got like a couple of press copies, you
Okay.
know. But other than that, we sold out and there's none left on Bandcamp and we don't sell them at gigs anymore. So we're chuffed with that, you know. And there's a few people that have talked to us about re-releasing it or reissuing it, whatever you say. And we'll see. You know, we don't want to get into anything. A big one for me is I don't want to do a dual case with this release because with Semper Pessimist because with CDs kind of not being all the rage at the minute, it's kind of nicer to have. If you're going to buy it, you need to make it sort of collectible, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I like the wee digibook, you know, with all Aaron's dad's artwork and stuff was in it. So um, yeah, it just seemed if we were going to reissue it, we would nearly need to have the right deal. You know, it's not even about having making money off it or whatever. It's just about having it presented correctly more than
Yes.
anything.
Yeah. Who did you go with in the end for that, Jude?
For Semper Pessimist,
Yeah, the
we
the
still
CD,
self.
the one.
That's what I'm saying. We haven't went with anyone. We've still self-released it.
What company did you do to get the booklet and all that?
I think we did it through Awesome Merch, if you know them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, they were really good.
And how many copies did you order in the end?
We've only done 300 total, but we done it in three separate orders of 100.
Okay. Sensible. Yeah, fair play, man. So have
Yeah,
you news? What's the story with you anyway? Like 2024, is there going to be an Acid Age get together in a studio somewhere? Yes.
absolutely. We've been turning down all gigs because we were working on new stuff. We've all the album demoed. The demos sound class. We could actually release the demos and they would be good enough quality to release, but we just want to see if we can get kind of that crystal clarity, that sonically enhanced studio sound, you know. So we've turned down all our gig offers that we've had for 2024
Mm-hmm.
just to stay in the studio because I'm sure Joe will be able to tell you as well, you know, you're working on an album and then someone fires a couple of gigs at you, you know, and then you have to stop working on the album, get the live set ready and, you know.
Yeah.
But all last year, it was a great opportunity. We got to play all the new songs. We got to try at least one new one live at
Mm-hmm.
different gigs. So we got to see how people responded to them. And then we could go back and make changes too.
Yeah. Sensible approach, man.
Good fun. I actually heard that Megadeth did that on Peace Cells. They actually gigged all those songs before they recorded them to see how people would respond to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they certainly did. And I think what they actually did was they did that, then they went in, recorded it for Combat, and then went out and did some more touring, and then Capitol Records bought the record off Combat, and then they went in and did more guitars and more singing and all that kind of stuff, you know. There's a really good interview actually with the guy Paul Lanny who produced it, and he was saying that, you know, people don't really realize this, but all the snares and kicks on P-cells all have triggers on them, you know. So they're not triggers, but like they're samples of different frequencies and stuff to try and make the snare or the kick have more of a splash, you know.
I love the drums on that album too.
Yeah, it's great record. So here, man, tell us about, like, obviously you guys probably same as all of us. Used to go to studios to make records, and now we kind of do a lot of it, as much of it ourselves, really. So, what way does that work for Acid Age these days?
Well, just we can everything. We generally do like going into studios and recording, just because there's a certain amount of there's a nice thing about going away to record your album, you know, and I enjoy that. I enjoy that sort of holiday aspect of it, I suppose. But I really think that the benefit of home recording means that we can make the demos, we can take as much time as we want, and basically record the whole album and have it as good as we can. And then we can actually present it to someone and say, hey, this is what we're looking, you know, what can you add to this, you know? So that's the approach we've kind of went for.
Cool. And you guys do your studio work in country then? Like, so have you got an engineer or a studio that you like to use?
No, we do a different one every time. Like the last one was analog, and this one will be sort of not fully digital, not totally analog, sort of mic'd up cabs, but you know, Indian interface type thing.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to go into campers or VSTs. I really have no bias. You know, I like to try something different, and every album maybe has a different recording style and sound. I don't know.
I guess that's the weird thing, isn't it? It's like if you always have a clean signal, you always have the option of going back to, you know, mess around with your guitar sound as much as possible. Whereas, like, I guess like when we all started out, that wasn't really the case. So you were just kind of using whatever your effects pedal or whatever was the preamp, and that was it.
Yeah, plug in your Zoom in.
Yep. Used to do that. I remember plugging a Hughes and Kettler head into a PC that was like running Windows 98. Like, this will sound great.
Yeah, I bet. Excellent.
And I think when we were talking the last time, Jude, you loved the whole idea of analog, especially as a band recording live in the studio together. Is that hopefully going to be 80% of it, or?
We still do that. Record the live tracks as a live band. You know, there's no click tracks with us or anything. It's you know, really is Aaron that sets the tempo, and then afterwards I'll go and layer usually a second rhythm guitar, some leads, and then all the vocals and stuff will go on too. So I still love the Semper Pessimist analog thing, but as I was saying, like I'm just not opposed to trying anything.
And it was expensive too, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it absolutely was. You know, you're not just paying for recording and the engineer's time and the studio hire and all that. You're also paying like per reel. You know, it's maybe like £250 per reel. You know, and you might need seven.
I guess is that one of those things that kind of like back in the 80s? I guess those reels, because they were so much more commonplace. It was like buying, you know, if you take Polaroid photos or whatever now, buying 8 Polaroids is like 20 quid. So it's like now that it's a rarity, obviously they just stick their hand in and
absolutely.
If they're the only show in town, what the heck can you do? Like, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like trying to buy a PlayStation 2 controller.
I actually have one of them still. Are you going to go with Joel Grind, Jude, or are you going to shop around?
We'll see. At the minute, I don't know who's mastering it. If Joel's available, he's quick, he's cost effective, and he's a nice guy to chat to and negotiate with. So I'm happy to work with him again. But that'll come down to his touring schedule and what we're doing at the time. Sort of up in the air about mastering, but we're happy with that too. You know, there's really no rules there.
So what else? Oh yeah, I saw then that you're going to do a live release as well, live in Belfast. That's at Age.
Yeah, we just recorded that. That was on the 30th of December, and that was a class gig. It was that Christmas aftermath one that James did, and it was
Mm.
sold out. It was max capacity in the Limelight, so we were absolutely delighted. So I actually we had sorted out with the sound engineer Brian to if he could record it and send us the stems, and he said he could, and we were delighted with it. And then when we were on stage, I actually announced it because there'd been a few great bands on already and stuff, and the crowd was nice and drunk and warmed up.
Mhm.
It meant when I announced that we were doing a live album on stage, everyone just went ballistic, you know. So they all wanted to get lots of spill onto the microphones, which I totally approve of, you know. It was
Yeah, that was
awesome.
a good idea, man.
Yeah.
Was it something that you were thinking about for a while?
Yeah, do you know what? One of my favorite albums that came out last year was that Power Trip Live in Seattle. I thought it
Oh,
was a release, you know.
yeah, that's class.
And I wanted us to have something like that, you know.
Yeah.
It's a really
Oh
cool
yeah.
idea though, and as well, documenting like each phase of the band like this, you know.
Yeah.
So like by the time you've got like 7 albums out or whatever, you can be like, yeah, okay, so like we've got like a live release from each of these, documenting the tour, or what the set was like at that stage, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys have any live albums out yet?
No, nothing. Well,
Nothing?
actually, we haven't even really been that good at keeping a record. Like, actually, we have more stuff from back in the day, like as in the demo eras and the first album and the first European tour. We've like a bunch of that, but we never actually really kept, or even we, because back then we used to carry a like a mini disc player around with us, and you could plug it just straight into the desk and get that. But yeah, we've just never really bothered. It's something that like I think it's one of the hang-ups of being in this era is that like back, and Richie, you'll probably remember this, back in the early 90s and stuff, VHSs were like such a big thing. Like bands like Pantera or Skid Row would do like a VHS, and it would
Yeah.
like have like a bunch of live songs on it, but like loads of like hanging out backstage and like all that sort of carry on. And we'd love to try and bring that sort of thing back and do something more like
Cool.
that instead of just doing a live gig. Because like I don't know if you guys agree, but I think in my opinion there's very few like thrash live things that have really, it's not like classic rock, it doesn't transfer as well live. Sometimes there's things like Decade of Aggression, the Sepulture Under Siege one, from Barcelona.
Testament live at Eindhoven.
Mhm.
It's good, yeah. And the Anthrax one from Hammersmith, it's great as well. But yeah, I
Nick,
think there's like, was there ever a good Megadeth one, Jude? Was there? Or, I think.
I suppose you could say
There is one,
the
all right.
92 Hammersmith one was a big one, wasn't it?
Yes,
Um,
it was good.
and the Rude Awakening one as well, I
Rude
suppose.
Awakening. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah. Was that it?
Uh,
Rude Awakenings?
yeah,
I
yeah.
think so,
It
yeah.
was live,
Uh,
wasn't it?
It was
But
one of those things where it just made you think, because I think the front of it's got like a kid falling off a bed off a roof or something, and it's like in that Metallica video as well, and you're just like, lads, pain is constant.
I'm sure
Yeah,
we're missing out on an Exodus one as well.
absolutely. And going back to your VHS thing, Joe, another one that I remember seeing whenever I was a kid and thinking was awesome was Cliff 'Em All. I remember seeing that whenever I
Yeah.
was like 12, thinking all the clips on it were brilliant.
Mm.
Maybe Gamma Bomb should do something like that.
I would
Yeah.
say so, yeah.
um, but
Stick in
yeah,
a
no,
load of patches and badges as well, Joe, and have it as a box
Yeah,
VHS, but
release it strictly on VHS.
well, you never know. It's one of those weird things that with music that everything seems to be growing in popularity. Like even cassette sales and stuff are going
it's
up
just the
massively.
sheer nostalgia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like I think it's like one of those things where everything's going to eventually be like that. Like 8 tracks will be like that, and mini discs will be like that. There'll just be a huge market for every type of media.
Yeah. Like Jude, like you've a settled lineup now for since what 2013, isn't it?
Pardon?
You've a settled lineup since 2013, more or less, with the
Been me, Jake, and Aaron just as a trio now since about 2018.
yeah, but when did the boys join?
Well, Aaron joined in 2016 and Jake joined in 2013.
Yeah, 2013, 26.
Had
Like,
other people coming out and other
yeah,
guitar
yeah.
players, you know.
But like when you see something now, like when it was just announced today, I don't know if you spot that or not, but Stuart has gone from the Crawling, like the bass player
Saw
of the
that
Crawling.
not long before we started this. I saw that announcement.
Yeah,
And the
it's
drummer from Wild Heat left as well. Left
ah.
Wild Heat.
But like, you know, when you see that, Jude, you kind of get worried going, fucking hell. You know, you can't take this for granted, you know, you've only a certain amount of time to get shit done, recorded and stuff, and then like life gets in the way, as we all know.
That's it, you know. There's the case as well. I remember when Paul left Gamma Bomb, and I remember speaking to him, and he sort of was just saying that he had, a mortgage and a, house and I think a missus and whatever else, and it's just life gets
Yeah.
in the way, I suppose.
And I think like a big thing, like especially in our band for like Paul and Luke kind of leaving the band, they had both been very like, listen, I've done kind of everything that I wanted to do here, and I'm fed up getting early flights and all that kind of stuff, But again, I guess it's one of those things that like it's like any band. Whenever people leave, you're kind of nearly like, well, if we went back in time to now, with what you know now, you would probably be a lot more understanding and try and keep people around more. But I guess the younger you are, the more you're like, right, well, I don't care if you leave the band, do whatever you want, like.
Mm.
But that's a good thing. Like we've all maintained to be good mates, which is the ticket. One of the weird things, I guess, like with you guys, dude, is that like because you went from being originally a three piece, didn't you, and then expanded out like into the outer limits of expanding out, and then shrunk back in. So what was it like the idea of like adding a second guitar player and then adding a fiddle player and all that kind of stuff?
It was just a fun experimental process where, there was just lots of laughter about it. Like,
Yeah,
the second guitar player was the classic "Let's thicken the sound."
yeah,
The getting Eddie to sing for a couple of years was just because we were getting on with him great as friends, and it was handier for me because I just kind of wanted to focus on being a guitar player and sort of study more at that, and then getting the violin, and that was just comedy. At first, it started out as sort of a joke, and then it was like, actually, you probably could write some interesting stuff, if you could have like a violinist playing sort of razor riffs, it'd be
yeah.
cool.
Like there's some bands like the Waterboys did it with really good effect, doing like electric violin and wah wah violin and stuff like. But it's kind of cool. Like it's nearly like starting out doing kind of like I guess would you say that like at the very start it was like a kind of poor man's version of what you are doing now? So like I
Absolutely.
think it's like you've gone the whole way around, and now like you're doing what you were doing at the start, but doing it amazingly. Like.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think like a lot of bands, we kind of started out as a lot of thrash bands, I suppose. We started out as basically a shitty punk band, a trio
Yeah.
that started in a garage, and just lots of practice and lots of gigs, and maybe some harsh criticisms along the way, and just stuck at it and kept going. And I think in Ireland, I think a lot of bands hold around the 5 year mark. So there's
Yeah.
this sort of, if you can last 10 years, there's this sort of rule that, oh, well, them guys have, you know, made their statement,
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Like that's what I was saying there with the Crawling, because they're only a three piece, and Stuart leaving there's a massive fucking gap to be filled. It's just
but they're
wondering.
very liked, so they'll not have any trouble getting a bass player who will absolutely love that gig.
Yeah. Mm. So like even just when we were on about collaborating there and writing music, so Jude, like taking a riff, we'll say that as a melodic idea, making it heavy, as in compared to taking a melodic idea and making it a trash song, which is your preference?
Um, I don't have a preference. I can't even think about it like that. It just, different riff calls for different process, I suppose. And some riffs uh, come from out of the blue. Like, where the
Mm.
hell did that come from? You're sitting playing and then you land on something by accident. Some riffs come from, you're trying to learn one of your favorite riffs from another band and you learn it wrong, and then you sort of mess with it a bit to make it your own.
Yeah.
Take artistic liberties, you know. And then some riffs come from the other lads in the band suggesting things, or maybe them playing something and you interpret it a certain way, or someone hums something, you know. There's no right or wrong answer, you know. It's just where it comes from, you know.
Yeah.
Just what it is type thing.
Would you agree with that, Joe?
Yeah, like I don't know. It's one of those things that's so hard to quantify. Like especially songwriting process. Like I think thing obviously with Acid Age is like you guys are such great friends, you know, like and the camaraderie between you is so tight, and that makes honestly everything way easier, you know. I find that like whenever you hear about bands who like they don't get on with each other or like they're arguing and all that sort of stuff all the time, it's like no wonder they want to kind of split songwriting credits and like you know they're always arguing over directions. I think everything gets way easier if you're buds, like you know.
Yeah, but I'm on about kind of riffs in general, even with writing for Devilsome, Joe. Approaching that.
Yeah, well, like I suppose you know it's one of those things that like with Gambom, I've been playing guitar, writing songs since we started and all that, you know, and the Devilsome thing was just like my friend wanted to do a kind of 90s thing where he was like, yeah, like imagine if the songs were kind of like Load meets Ghost or something like that. And I was like, right, well, that sounds around my level of expertise on the guitar. Yeah. But yeah, no, I like doing that kind of stuff, and it's really good for Gambom because occasionally what would happen in the past is we would write so many songs, like maybe write 30 songs for an album, and then pick the best 12 or whatever, and there'd be like extremities in the leftovers. So there'd be songs that were trying to sound like Skid Row, or there'd be songs that were trying to sound like you know I know Slayer or whatever. So like what we try and do is like I know expel all that kind of stuff. So you're just left with the stuff that's good. And I think like Devilsome lets me get some of those sort of more metal or rock type riffs out, and so they don't end up on bomb albums with people going, "Why is there keyboards in this bit?" You know?
Yeah. Did you enjoy that album, Jude? Devilsome, or EP, I should say.
I haven't heard it yet. I need to check it out.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Investigate it. No, it sounds good. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
So, Jude, have you got like a timeline? Like, do you know when you want to have the album out, or do you want to try and get a label for it, or what? Where's your head's at it? Know about it?
Ideally, like to say it's out late summer.
Okay.
I do know that. I think James is going to release it for us. He's going to do the pressing. Yeah,
he seems to be doing such a great job up there. Like you know,
he's doing amazing work for so many people. I don't know how he's balancing so many different bands at once and not pulling his hair out. You know, but every time I speak to him now, he's just such good energy and such. You know, he's just so happy and full of positivity.
That's the key, isn't it? As well, energy.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and
you need a guy that will fight your corner.
Do you ever meet someone that's been a promoter for over 20 years and they're a grumpy bastard, you know? Whereas James is never like that. He's always like smiling and happy to see everyone, and you know.
Yeah,
and then
it's
at the end of the night, he'll have a wee glass of wine. Maybe that's the secret, it's the wine. But but he always seems happy to see everyone and polite.
And like you know, like James is also like he's a passionate guy about this sort of stuff. Like he'll put on bands that he loves, that he's like, you know, this is an important band like Raven or someone like that who mightn't necessarily be drawing a ton of people, but like he's like, I want this gig, like, you know.
There'll be like maybe 15 people in the room, but he wanted to bring them over type thing.
Fair play to him. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so like what do you think then? Would you ideally like to maybe, you were saying about getting the guy from Toxic Holocaust into mix it, but like would you think of working with a bigger producer if he's had an opportunity to do so?
I would love to work with a big producer, but it's all funds, isn't it? You know, it would be class to get like a Fleming Rasmussen stamp on your album, you know.
Is he still doing stuff, is he?
He is indeed, yeah.
You know, he's a great guy to talk to about all that sort of stuff. Jarvis from Night Demon, who's now an Irish guy, he's living in Derry these days. But they did a song with Fleming. They did a song with Steve Albini, who did the Nirvana records and stuff like that. And he was like, you know, you'd be surprised. Like, there's some of these guys out there where, like, if you're just saying, listen, we'll give you $400 or $500 for a day in the studio, like, they'll be like, yeah, okay, look, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Another guy throwing to the mix there is Brad Boatwright as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good. He was on the podcast. Like, just fucking name drop shit, like saying, oh, because like I know Howard from Partalon, they're getting Brad to mix the album. So like I mean, and Brad is a fucking huge name, but again, he's looking after the lads, you know.
That's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, it's really cool. So how far are you willing to innovate and push boundaries with this album, Jude?
I guess we'll see what happens, but I know the
Oh,
songs are
cards
my
close to the chest, huh?
well, I know the songs are my favorite, and a lot of the songs on it are the hardest ones to play as well, but in a really fun way. And I'm doing stuff with the guitar that I've never done before. That you know, it's forced me to write it a certain way and think about certain passages and key signatures and stuff.
Hmm.
So I've had so much fun working on it. I can tell you the album's going to be called Perilous Compulsion, and I know for a fact there's going to be 7 songs on it, and it'll be
Nice.
in around 45 minutes in length.
Okay.
So
Brilliant.
yeah.
And so, dude, this is gonna be the first album recorded with your new picking technique.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is
Go on.
indeed.
So you've got a guitar there. Show Richie till he's unbelievably blown away by it. Like, it's nuts.
A new picking technique.
Yeah. So I stopped using a guitar pick um, a bit over a year ago, I suppose, publicly. The first gig I did without a pick was actually those eval gigs we did in January last year.
Uh,
Uh,
so yeah, you
crack.
were supporting them down Limerick. Actually, that's where I met you then.
Yeah, that's right, actually. Oh man, we need to talk about that night.
Really? I don't remember fuck all.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Oh shit.
No, you were awesome, man. You know what you did?
Uh,
You says to me, "Do you want a pint?" And I says, "I go on." He says, "What do you want?" And I says, "I'll have a pint of Guinness." And you went, "No bother." And you went off, and you were gone for ages. And I thought, oh, he must have got distracted, or maybe he's speaking to someone. That's all right. So I went. I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll find him and I'll get him a pint of Guinness, and I'll go up and go, "There's your Guinness, you wanker." So I went and got you a pint of Guinness and one for myself. And I walked and we met. And when we met, you were holding 2 pints. So we both ended up with 2 pints of Guinness.
Fantastic.
That's a
Yeah,
great way to be.
Whew.
yeah, on
Okay, that's good. Wasn't anything embarrassing.
So the picking thing,
Okay.
one of the things I love is, do you know when you see flamenco music and they're doing what you call rasguados, so it's one, two,
Yeah.
three, four, five, right? That sort of thing.
Hmm.
So what I'm trying to do is work out ways that I can get that. You know, if you get like big black metal type chord sequences, you know, incorporating that sort of thing into it, and using a lot of thumb picking stuff, and even for leads and stuff, there's a nice warmth to it. And one problem that I was having with the guitar was constantly blowing my load. So I'd pick up a guitar and go, and I kind of wanted to find more tasteful phrasing and just nicer melody lines and stuff. So it forced me to think about that. And then over time of practicing and working at it, I was able to actually get the speed in as well. But a lot of the guitar lines are maybe more thoughtful and more melodic, I suppose. So it's just been a far nicer process and far more fun for me. And everyone, I sort of, people keep mentioning it at gigs and stuff. Um,
Yeah,
and
I couldn't believe it, man. Whenever I saw you guys supporting Ebel, I was like, man, the rhythm sound, like, because it's something that I would suspect would make the rhythm playing sound less tight, and it does the opposite. It sounds way more precise and like way tighter. Look, you know.
yeah, that's it. And I think it's because people have this notion in their head that, you know, the pick equals attack or something, you know, but it's not the case because a lot of the attack of the sound is coming from your amp. So if you put a wee bit of mid and a wee bit of treble in, you're still going to get that attack. And you've got different methods of striking. You can use your nail, you can use your thumb, you can, you know, use fleshier parts of your fingers, or you know, or you can claw, or you can like slap on it or whatever. There's just so many more options now.
Who
And
am I trying to think, Jude, in the metal scene, with the bigger bands, does that? There's an obvious one. It's fucking wrecking my head. It's not Animals as leaders, is it? Is it?
yeah, your guy Tosin, I think he might use a pick sometimes. I'm not sure.
Mm,
Um,
The people use the guy from Blondie, Chris Stein, uses five finger picks. So does, the ones that you put on.
Really,
Yeah,
like
he
the
uses five on
handle.
his. Yeah, and does all the stuff like that,
fuck.
That's awesome.
So, like,
No, but
Jude, would you say your strength is in rhythm or lead?
it's all the same thing. There's one guitar player in the band,
Yeah, but like, I mean, what's your preference?
Uh,
Like, we'd say, like, do you enjoy even working out solos? Like, what ways I would just want to get into your mind in relation to your thought process. You're saying it's natural and stuff, like, but like, you can have someone that's really good at rhythm, someone that's really good at lead, and also a soloist who's like just that's his thing. So
I would say
whereabouts, if you had to chop you up as a personality in relation to a guitarist, what would be the three defining?
rhythm's more important, but
Okay.
uh, but I love playing leads, and to me, a guitar solo is the icing on the cake. But
Yeah.
you do need to have a cake, you know.
Mm.
So I would say rhythm's probably more important, but I I would hate to never play guitar solos again,
And for a while, that was what happened, wasn't it? Really, but the advent of grunge and stuff like that. Even Kirk Hammett fucking disappeared up his own hole for a while and gave us all a
Well,
break
that's
from
what
the wah.
he says, that doesn't he, in some kind of monster documentary? Like
Yeah,
whenever they're saying about not putting solos in the album, he's like, if we don't put solos in this album, it's going to date it to this exact time of like whenever it was fashionable not to have solos. Like, but
And he
yeah.
like
was
I think everyone in the room's reaction was just to be like, anyway. So what were you saying, Lars? Like, yeah.
yeah. And then Bob Rock won him over by sort of saying the rule isn't solos or no solos. So they
Yeah.
ended up with solos.
Suppose it's something like we would, because we have two lead guitar players, we're always trying to have solos. But I think the last album there was like two or three songs on it with no solos because
Yeah.
just sometimes that's the way the song ends up being arranged.
Mm,
Absolutely, we've got songs like that as well. Like Slave Girl is one of our most popular songs, and it's got no solo.
yeah.
But there's enough riffs in that to make up for it. um,
Deadly song. So like this is a weird one. Now obviously, same as ourselves, you come up with your own brand name of like how to describe your kind of music or whatever. Like, but like, would you say you're more of a thrash death band or a death thrash band? Like if you say if somebody didn't know about the fucking particularisms of how you describe your music,
um, I don't know. If if you sort of had to explain it to someone, I would say we're probably somewhere between Blind Illusion meets Sadist or something, maybe. Like
Yeah.
that sort
see,
of
Fuck's
this
sound.
was
sake.
definitely one that I would have thought was coming into the equation. Yeah.
I don't know, was
Yeah.
it you inspired me, Jude? Because I was listening to Blind Illusion on the way home tonight.
Brilliant band, awesome band,
Rat of the Gods, that album, fantastic.
class. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Jesus, there's a blast from the past now. Yeah, that's mad.
Absolutely. They
But
were
I
obviously,
think actually, did Kirk Hammett produce the Sane Asylum? I think he did, didn't he?
yeah, but his name wasn't allowed to be on it because Elektra Records or something wouldn't allow
Yeah.
it. So it's one of
Ah,
those things that it's just known that
yes.
he did, but no one's allowed to put it in print.
It's
Another
kind of
thing,
weird, isn't it? Because like he produced the Death Angel demos as well, and like you, by all accounts, you would think that that's what he would be doing now, like is doing that. But he's just like, I like living in Hawaii and me
Yeah.
Miss Willie here. Like,
playing vintage Gibsons. Do you
dude,
know?
did you hear about him fucking breaking Greenie again? Like, he said that
Yeah,
basically what happens is he gets like so many free guitar magazines a month that like there's a big pile of them,
I
and like
saw that.
he
Fell
leaned it against it and it fell over and smashed into bits. Like,
Oh,
over.
for fuck's sake, you serious?
yeah, but he
Yeah,
was on like everyone who's owned it has smashed it to bits. Like it's like the more glue you add, the better it sounds. Like
the thing
Jesus.
is, the thing about wood glue is that you've got the comfort of knowing it'll never break at the same joint again. You know. But do you know that line in Sanitarium that's like, do you know that wee line? Dun, 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 dun. Do you know that bit in Welcome Home Sanitarium?
Yeah, the wee baroque bit.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, sorry, yeah.
That was actually that part of guitar playing was written by Mark Biederman from Blind Illusion.
Really?
What?
What happened was Kirk went to Mark Biederman. Mark Biederman's known as like a deadly guitar player, and Blind Illusion's going since '78. And he says, "Hey, Mark, I need to do this solo in the song, and it's frying my head." And he says, "I have the demo here, and if I play it on my boombox, would you mind taking a rip?" And I just can't figure out for this nice clean section. It was actually Mark Biederman that wrote that and then taught it to Kirk. But
Oh,
there's some
It's funny enough, in the Master of Puppets book, he says that whenever they were writing the album, he used to go up to his mate's studio all the time, and that's where he would record the riffs that he was bringing in the demo and stuff. So that's
is that
obviously
Mark's then?
must have been up at his, yeah.
And he
That's
never
the one.
mentioned him.
well, I think it,
Not a drap. Sure, Gary Holt said that whenever the bit, he didn't write any of the riffs for Creeping Death, or the ones that Kirk Hammett used for it, but he said it was his idea to come up with the die 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 bit on top of that. Like he's like, whenever he's watching them in front of 70,000 people, he's like, oh, I should really be getting at least like a couple of quid for this, like
yeah, it's like the straight out of the boat, kill 'em all. A lot of the starting licks were from the No Life to Leather demo as well. So seems
yeah. Well, you don't get to become a squillionaire by giving people songwriting credits.
No.
You tell them to piss off. That's why they never re-released the No Life to Leather demos, is because like Metallica said they wanted to re-release them on vinyl and stuff like that, but they wanted to give Lars credit for mechanics or whatever, and Mustaine said that he wasn't willing to share.
He's
credit.
fucking dead right too. Fuck that. Sure, that's why they're still not probably bitching about, well, Mustaine is still bitching about him, because I mean, I think Hetfield contacted him going, look, there's certain things here that we need to iron out and then we can all move on. And he says, yeah, no problem. Just take Lars off that fucking for Metallica Militia, I think, and give me the credit for it. And he said, no, it's not happening. So good luck.
yeah. But I mean, Dave Mustaine infamously isn't so humble either. He's good at running his mouth as well. So I think it's a bit of they're as bad as each other there.
Yeah. Let's not get caught
It's
up
such
in
a
it.
shame, man. They're not going to get Friedman in, isn't it? Like it's just it's like going for the cheapest option, like in the trousers department.
I was talking about this to someone the other day, and I was thinking, does it really make a difference who's playing guitar for Megadeth now? Because you just know Mustaine writes every note and lyric on it, and then hires insert guitarist name here to go and do her solos.
There's an element to that to it, all right, but you'd like to think Marty would have a fucking bit of an old influence on it, like just.
The thing is, like, the last album, what was it you called it? The Dying and the Dead. Is it really going to be that different if it's that exact same album with that same production, the same artwork, the same vocals, everything, but it's got Friedman solos instead of Keiko solos? That way? Like,
I don't think the record will be like better or any good really. Like, but I think I would like to see it live because I think that it would eventually lead to Ellefson coming back and it being worth going to see them. And like that's the issue, is that like if you've only got like one original member, Mustaine, and the ticket prices have gone from like $30 up to $55, like
yeah,
like a lot of people out there are kind of like, it's the same with like Anthrax, or like whenever Slayer were going around, they were like, yeah, well, I've seen this exact same set many times, like, so I'm not gonna go and say it again. But yeah, like I'd love to see that happen, but I think that the problem is that like they can get the guy that got in at the minute for a few $100 a night, and Marty would be like, I want a quarter of the gate,
yeah,
yeah.
Kiko, isn't it?
No, it's Timu. Kiko's gone now.
It's Kiko. Jesus, there you go. It's a fucking revolving door, man.
Timu Mantasari, I think he played in Winter Sun or something.
Oh, okay.
I don't, but he'll be a good guitar player. You don't play in Megadeth and be a bad guitar player. That's the rule.
So Jude,
But
when you're doing the rehearsals there with the lads, like how much of improvisation comes into the songwriting process there?
No, every single time we play together, there's a wee bit. That's where the jazz element is, you know.
Yeah.
You know when you see old bands from like the 60s and 70s, and like it could just go off at any time and turn into like a disastrous free jazz jam, right?
Yeah.
That's average, you know.
Yeah.
The only difference is we're doing it with thrash riffs,
Yeah.
you know.
Like,
But
did the
it
song
can't,
get longer and longer in rehearsal? Like, as in, will a song start out as like a 4 minute first chorus kind of song and then just keep getting bigger and bigger? Or
uh,
like, do you then have to go in and get the lumberjacks on and be like, right, we're taking this out, taking that out? Or
a bit of
is it,
both, too, actually. And do you know a real problem is Jake will usually buy a new effects pedal because he's got a real problem with that. Like he'll hear something or watch a video on something and have to buy it and give it a go. So he'll get like a new pitchfork pedal or a new delay or, a bit crusher or something. And then he'll have to experiment with it. And if we start jamming on something, he'll play on it and do stuff with his pedals. And he plays as much pedals as he does play bass,
Yeah. Yeah.
So exactly what you're saying, we have to sometimes cut the fat a wee bit, because not everyone wants to hear 20-minute songs, But it's still all good fun, So it starts off always as the verse chorus thing, and then it just ends up going AWOL.
And
so
what's
are
your
you saying
go?
then, is the plan, sorry to cut across you, Rich,
No, go on.
is the plan kind of then to like not do any more touring or gigs until the album's finished, or he's going to maybe do a bit of after you've
Yeah,
got something recorded, or what?
yeah, until the album's finished. But if we get offered something worth doing, we'll do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we get a class support slot for a band we really like type thing, then
Yeah.
we'll do it. But
Makes
otherwise,
sense.
we'll just stay focused. And we've been offered a couple of headline gigs between January and March, and we've just said no, we're not. We've closed that chapter until the album's done.
Do you know what we were saying there about Blind Delusion, Jude? So what's your go-to song or artist when you need a boost?
At the minute, Wayne Shorter.
Who?
Wayne Shorter is a jazz sax player, but
Okay.
uh, for metal at the minute, I'm really enjoying two albums. I'm really enjoying. Ironic that you've asked me this. Here is one of them's the new Sadist, and the other one's Bats, the new Gamma Bomb album. That's two.
Cheers, dude.
Nice.
Yeah, classic. It's absolutely your best album, like, without a doubt. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, man.
I said
Yeah, I
that as
definitely
well to him.
tried to be more guitar-y on this one, and I think like John and Damo are like weird. Like I think there was a while whenever John joined the band, there was a bit of a like, "What are you doing in my garden?" kind of thing from Damo, where he was like, "Okay, he's allowed to do two solos on this album," and like I think now they're working a lot more as like a team or whatever, where they can do.
Now they're like the Paul Gilbert and Bruce Boulay thing, Awesome. Well,
Yep.
some of John's solos are absolutely fantastic, and the
Yeah.
head that's going on in that album's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and like I think it's kind of having the best of both worlds and the style of like Domo is like more of a kind of bluesy kind of. Suppose he's a bit more Paul Gilberty, whereas like John definitely he loves speed, like so the faster he can get, and like he's like turned around to me there the other week and was like, man, never really listened to Kill 'Em All before. It's actually really good, like spent all of his early days just like listening to shred music and stuff like that. There's loads of like stuff like that he was never really into. Like.
Yeah.
Just shrapnel record stuff.
Well, he was
Yeah,
big into death metal as well, so
Yeah,
yeah,
he
and
is.
he's still getting on great with that. Like I think John's got a good ear for that kind of like the Florida type
yeah.
1990
Oh,
type vibe, which is great because the thing that I don't like about death metal is I think he gets so much stuff that's kind of like a regurgitation of the kind of Gothenburg sound, like or whatever, and it's I don't know, it all sounds a wee bit like someone like Arch Enemy type death
Yeah.
metal or something like that, Whereas like I think like it's actually weird, the north of Ireland has just got such a weird lineage of death metal bands
yeah.
running back for 30 years and I don't know if there is something in the water, but like would you say like Jude, like it's weird the way there hasn't really been too many thrash bands that have been going for that long, but there's some death metal bands like Condemned run to go for like God 25 years or something, weren't they?
Absolutely. It is strange. I think the thing about the scene up here is it's so eclectic as well.
Yeah.
There's every type of metal band, but there's not loads of one type of metal band.
Yeah.
And that's good too.
Yeah, it is.
Sort of if you're in, for example, if you're in a death metal band, you get to be a big fish in a small pond.
Mm.
So that's but I sort of have the same thing with death metal as you do. I think like I like death metal, but I'd be picky, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, it would be the same as John. It would be the Florida,
Yeah.
87 to 92 type thing.
Mm.
Yeah, that sort of guitar side. It's funny though, like I think the kind of ambient, like an experimental nature of Acid Age's music, like exposes you guys to a totally different audience. Like kind of in the same way as Cryptic Shift and stuff like that. That you could go on before Voivod and everybody would love it, or you could go on before like Suffocation and everybody would love it. So like it's a really really good catchment of different sorts of people that'll be listening to your band.
It's handy too. Nearly play it all our songs on acoustics with like a wee timpani drummer or something, and we could probably play weddings, get us all tucked up.
Yeah, you could just sing all the lyrics in like, I don't know, Italian or whatever, and everyone would think it was very romantic music.
Yeah.
Yeah, just scat.
Have you ever thought of that, Jude, working with someone from a different musical background?
And what way, like playing music or?
Yeah.
I sort of have. I've guested on people's albums and stuff, and even sort of like done things where it's maybe wee girl folk singer with acoustic guitar and she wants a guitar solo in one of her songs type thing. I've done all that kind of thing.
Okay.
I actually did a guitar solo. I did a guitar solo on a gospel album. And I
Yeah,
probably
there you go, man. Cool.
that was good
That's where the
fun.
money is.
Yeah, it was where the money was. So,
Brilliant.
I was like, no, I don't know that this is bad. We'll give you 200 quid. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to play a track off the last album just to give everybody a reminder of how good it was. Semper Pessimus, and this is My Wretched. What about the vocal styles? You're going to play around with much vocal styles with this album?
It's my New Year's resolution last year on in 2023. I was going to work on my vocals, and so I actually took a couple of lessons and stuff. And
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. So funny enough, I've spent a lot more time than ever working on actual phrasing and technique and learning to actually sing a bit as well, rather than just the sort of
Oh,
grunting type.
the guy from that answer, Cormac Nielsen, he does vocal lessons, so does he's supposed to be really good.
He's a brilliant
Philly,
singer.
yeah, Philly was thinking about going and doing that. The thing that I always, because I used to back in the day, me and Paul and John or whatever used to do a Sodom tribute band, so we did, and just do like songs from Persecution Mania or whatever. And I found it really like I didn't find the tone hard to do, but I found how quickly he delivers lyrics very
Yeah.
difficult. Because like it would be really like yeah, like that
Yeah.
kind of
It's
death
nearly
metal
like
sound.
rap, isn't it?
Yeah, it is like
Philly's brilliant at that too. Philly's always been good at that.
Mm.
Quick, you know.
and that'll be the kind of thing that like any song that has that sort of vibe, what we would sometimes do is do a demo of something like Metal Idiot and just like sing the lyrics for like Beat It or whatever over the top of it. Because like if you sing the lyrics for any song and that kind of it like it'll give you ideas of where to put the singing in, you know. So if you just take that as a jumping off point, it's not going to sound the same, but it might give you some ideas of how you can phrase the vocals, like and weirdly, that's the thing I'd say like most about playing music is at the end of the day, most of it is about how people relate to the singing. So it is, you
Yeah.
know.
I've noticed as well. For example, my girlfriend always comments on that. If she hears a piece of music, she'll comment on the singing first
Yeah.
every time. You know. And I remember we were sitting watching something on TV and someone was singing, and she was saying about, oh, he's got a lovely voice or whatever. And it actually kind of caught me off guard because I was like nearly blanking out the vocalist and trying to hear the orchestra that he was singing on top of,
Yeah.
So it's really interesting, you know.
Yeah. Programmed to receive different things. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
And you played the Sodom tribute band, Joe.
Yeah, well, like I think we only did like 3 or 4 gigs, like obsessed by sodomy.
were
Uh,
you a three
but
piece or a four piece, Joe?
no, it's just a 3 piece. So it was just me,
Yeah.
and because me and Paul, whenever we writing songs, we just start playing Sodom songs, and then after like writing for years, we're like, actually, we know how to play all of Obsessed by Cruelty and Persecution Mania and Agent Orange, so we should do a couple of gigs. I think we did one in London and like one in Dublin and one somewhere else, and then we're like, okay. Turns out there isn't actually a lucrative fan base for Sodom tribute bands.
It's amazing because they've been fucking to Ireland a shitload of times, really.
Yeah, they have. They've been out here a ton of times, and they're still a great band. Like they're one of those. Like I think that's one thing that I'd say about Teutonic thrash bands like that and Tankard and stuff is they're really dependable. Like they've been like bringing out stuff that like right maybe if you're not a big Tankard fan, it's not going to change your world or something like that. But the albums have never been disappointing
Yeah.
or something.
There's a few dodgy creator albums, like the whole electro kind of gothy phase of creator was sort of a
Yeah.
bit.
And again, see, going back to that kind of Gothenburg sound thing, I think that that's a problem I have with more recent creator and a wee bit with destruction is they stop sounding like themselves and they start sounding actually a bit like someone else,
Yeah.
Stuff. But there's always a few class tunes on every recent creator album, and then a few kind of melodic, kind of singy ones as well.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, I remember thinking this about Slayer. I'm not going to watch what I say here because this is the kind of thing that piss people off. But I think if you took the best songs from the last few Slayer albums, you could have made one like whopper album.
Yeah.
I think in the
Same with
last,
Megadeth as well, like even albums that are considered like okay, like Dystopia, you're talking about like 4 or 5 actually good songs.
that's
So, and that's one of the things that you have to kind of give to Metallica is like, right, maybe the style of it isn't that good, but generally their more recent albums, there seems to be more good songs on them than recent Slayer, or Anthrax, or Megadeth, or one band actually who actually have done a great job since they've got back together is Death Angel. I think that their music nowadays is probably better than the stuff they wrote in the 80s,
I think I think that about Testament as well. I think they're actually getting better with
Yeah.
age. I think they're definitely tighter than they've ever been.
Yeah. I'm just
But
happy Skolnick is still with him. You know,
yeah,
I'd hate to see him go.
I think Big Chuck's a class singer too. Like he's
Yeah,
one of the I think he's one of the thrash singers that could do anything. He can sing melodic, or he can scream, or he can roar, or do the death metal, or whatever. He's just got an insane range
Check
of.
out on YouTube his Sepultura audition tapes are up there, so they are from
I
whenever
haven't, I haven't
Max
heard it.
left. Yeah, they're pretty good. Like you can probably see why they went with someone else, but like it'd be interesting to see actually what would happen then, because like I guess if he had got that Sepultura gig, there would have been never. Testament would still be not in limbo, wouldn't it? Like
yeah.
Absolutely. What do you think about Sepultura wrapping up?
Shame.
They're wrapping up so they can do a reunion next year. You know?
Money grab.
Well,
You know
I
what?
think it's just a kind of thing that, like, for anyone, like, I love actually the more recent albums that they've done, like Quattro and like Alex or
Quattro's
whatever.
class.
But
Well,
like,
here's one that
I think
someone said. I thought this was interesting. Right. So everyone's saying, oh, I think Max and Igor's coming back, and that's why they're wrapping it up. But you know what crossed my mind? You ever consider that Andreas Kesser might be in Kerry King's new band?
yeah, like I suppose he could be, but I think that at the end of the day, for him, Sepulture at the minute is more profitable because he'd be like, well, me and Paulo Jr. are the original members, and we're going to pay Derek and the drummer guy a decent fee. But I think the issue is that like Derek kind of is probably at this stage kind of a bit fed up, being all like, listen, you can only pretend to be somebody else for so long, or like, it's gonna be a hard thing because like I love Sepulture as they are now. I've never seen them with Max, but I could probably understand why people who have seen them with Max are like, I would rather go and see the original. And if you're probably being offered pretty decent cash, you can only turn it down for so long. And what they probably ended up saying is, listen, Derek, we'll give you X of a see you later fee, and we'll take a year off, and then we'll get together and do this. Because it'd be great. Like I honestly think that if they were going to come around, they would probably be able to go and do the Point Depot in Dublin and the Odyssey in Belfast. If they had the right support bands with them, like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they could probably do all arenas if they did the reunion thing.
Yeah, you only have to look at Fate No More, like the exact same thing.
Yeah,
that's true.
And like I think the difference there is that Fate No More makes so much money from their royalties and like make so much money just from doing festivals that it's kind of like the Sex Pistols. They can do it once every 10 years, and then when the wells run a bit dry, do it again, but they don't like hanging out with each other.
Exactly.
Whereas I guess like Sepulture for the last 20 years have been refusing people being all okay, we'll give you £1,000,000 to do this festival. Actually, we'll give you £2,000,000 or whatever, and they're like, right, okay, we'll do it. Look,
Yeah.
Yeah, there comes a point where someone has the right number,
Like who would imagine Pantera reforming? Like,
but is it a reformation? Not really. Like, I think I would be very, very surprised if, like, when they said, should we do this? If like Dimebag and your other guys' pictures didn't start spinning about on the wall or something, they did not seem like they would be on for people going and doing it without them,
Yeah.
But I think the thing is people want to hear the songs, don't they, Jude? Like you have to give people what they want in some regard. So I don't begrudge them doing it. It's just it wouldn't be the sort of thing I would go and see. Like,
but you see, the difference with Pantera is they want to hear as Jude was saying, it's the singer they want to hear. So it doesn't matter about.
Now, Jude, as a guitar player, surely you have some issue of umbrage with how tightly fucking Zakk Wylde is not the right guy for this gig, really. Like, you want someone who's fucking gonna do it note for note, not do their interpretation. But
that's true. I'm not really a big enough fan to even comment, but I would say, probably finds Dimebag would probably pick Zakk Wylde just because they're old friends.
Yes. Yep, totally. That's definitely 100% true. I just think that like maybe if Zakk Wylde was 25, he would have been like, okay, I'm gonna do this 100% accurately. Yeah. Whereas I think now that he's like a older guy, he's like, well, I'm just gonna do my stint on it and it'll be fine.
Well, Gary Holt did the same with Slayer, didn't he, as well?
Gary Holt didn't even try learning Jeff Hanneman.
There you go, like. It's
He
just
just
I don't think anyone was going to give off. They'd just be like, here's one horse wanking solo replaced by another horse wanking solo. So it's like, there's nothing to complain about there, like, you know.
yeah,
I love Gary Holt's class.
He is brilliant. Like.
Big
yeah,
I love the way he's one of the few guys that you can think of thrash metal who actually like is able to make a living just selling his old shit. Here's my old guitar strings from Slayer gig 15, you know.
yeah.
Yep.
Passes everything, man. He seems to have everything kept aside, you know. Fair
Good
play.
on him. Like that's fucking. It's such a cool thing seeing guys like him getting that Slayer gig, or like Juan Garcia getting the Body Count gig. It's like these guys have been playing in underground metal bands for 35 years, and like having a hard enough living doing it. Like
Yeah.
those bands never sold millions and millions of records, but like they're able to go and play massive arenas in front of like millions of people here. That's class. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think I don't begrudge Gary Holt being able to make a living, because he's been at it enough time. And
do you think Exodus should add a third guitar player then? Should they get Rick Hunolt in and do that? Or what do you think?
you know what? I think it would be nice if Rick came back and Lee went and focused on Heathen, because I think that last Heathen album's really
It's
good.
fucking class, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I get the feeling, man, that if they did the same approach that Death Angel did, they could be out doing their own headlining gigs the way that Death Angel are now, Like if they concentrated on building their base,
Heathen's thing seems to be like just every 20 years we'll throw an album out and it'll be class. It'll be worth it, but
Yeah, but ultimately, like if Heathen would attract the same amount of fucking crowd as Metal Church or Armored Saint in Europe. Do you know, in Ireland, what would they'd be lucky to fill out fucking Voodoo, like. I've been there watching Metal Church going, this will be a sellout, and you're kind of going, what the fuck,
But Armored Saint was the same, dude. Like I think there was like 70 people at Armored Saint, and I'm sure Metal Church was the same, like,
Yeah, and so like Heathen would definitely get 70 or 80, but would H take a gamble on him? I doubt it.
Yeah. Probably old situation. The way to do those kind of things would be to mix it up. Like I would put like Heathen and Toxic Holocaust together, or like us and Metal Church or something like that, or whatever, like Acid Age and like Defiance or something like that, or like so that you were getting at least different sorts of people there, because what happens a lot of the time with these sort of bills is people are like, let's get Artillery and Onslaught and Whiplash, and they think that they're going to draw 500 people, but they're just making the same 120 people 3 times as happy. It's not like a whole bunch of different people are going to the gig.
Yeah,
you nearly be better having like a more eclectic bill of bands,
Yeah, and the weird thing is, like, England has got so many cool kind of like death and hardcore bands, like sort of things like Benediction and Cerebral Fix and all these kind of bands that would be perfect for supporting those kind of bands coming over here, and people would love to see them.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, I suppose that's just, it's different times. Back in the day, there seemed to be a lot more crossover between death and thrash and stuff and punk. And like again, seeing Jude, you were saying, like, when all of us started out, we were playing punk gigs, Whereas now, when was the last time you played a punk gig? Well, you did the Dangerfields gig actually last year, didn't you?
And that was with you, sure. Wasn't that it was your 20th anniversary?
Yeah, he definitely played with Dangerfields. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, you know what? They're one of my favorite bands, and like Jude will tell you, the songs that they've written for their next album that they keep delaying are great. Like, aren't they?
They're lethal. They're so good. But the Dangerfield seems to be. I love the way that Griswold kind of has that Chuck Berry type thing where he'll just show up and have a band, whoever the backing band is.
I know, and you're like, where did these guys come from? And it's always like a bunch of Scottish dudes who are like, well, man, are you the new bass player? And he's like, I think so. Like, I just got put in a band here. Like,
I think he's recorded this second album maybe 4 times.
Yeah. And I said to him, I was like, dude, what you should do is ask Jude to play guitar and I'll play bass on it, and we'll just record it over the course of like a weekend and it'll sound killer. Like, and he's all like, yeah. And then he had like this horrendous new logo, and I was like, oh man, this is not looking good.
Yeah.
But he's a legend, is Andy.
Fast.
So
But
when do you hope to have the live album out, Jude? Is this gonna appear
it's be,
before the
it's being
release?
mixed at the minute, so hopefully by the end of February.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Brilliant. Cool.
Yeah.
Are you doing the live and dangerous thing of having to go in and like edit out all the swearing and all that sort of stuff, or like are you just kind of
No,
leaving it au natural?
we're leaving a lot of it really nasty. Just we're going to go in. There's some parts where we had to not so much trigger, but just like EQ the drums a bit better and stuff.
Yeah.
Because maybe certain things there's bits lost and whatever, um, and just maybe a bit of amp hiss and stuff. But other than that, it sounded really good. We were really chuffed. So just normal mixing type stuff.
Brilliant.
We were really happy.
Like, are you glad that you guys are sort of doing that sort of stuff and like because there's a certain DIY sort of thing where it's like if you get good at doing that sort of thing yourself, why would you ever ask anyone else to do it? Like, because you're invariably going to be asking somebody who doesn't know the music as well as you do. Look, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's only good to be able to look after your own product. It's sort of like being head of quality control, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and saving a few bob, man, while you're at it.
Like Richie, it must be the case of like, would you say over 90% of the bands that you have coming in are doing everything DIY or whatever? Or like, because there's some
No,
people like Michael Richards in Dublin or whatever, like who's really really busy doing bands, but there's a whole other side of the scene who would never really consider going to something like that. You
the
know?
big change was COVID, Joe. That's what.
Yeah,
And you're seeing the results of it now, where a load of bands just went, fuck it. We can't get to any recorded material, studios, etc. And they just started doing it themselves and quite happily started going, fuck, we can actually do this and just give it to a guy to master and
yeah,
save a
It sort
fortune,
of sort of went two ways, didn't it? It went
Yeah.
either a lot of bands just honed their craft with writing, recording, even social media, and then other bands shit the bed and folded and just didn't survive it.
yeah. And it's
Mm.
so weird, even whenever you hear Jude, like big bands like Anthrax or whatever talking about that, they were like, yeah, when COVID hit, we just didn't do anything. We didn't even like email each other for like a year or whatever. And you're like, I would have been going nuts if I didn't have music or something to do. Like the fact that you had an album to make, you're like, great, this is brilliant. Like, you know?
Yeah, it's mad.
Exactly. No, you do end up. That was the big thing about the COVID stuff. For the first while, everyone was drunk and it was all fun, wasn't it? And then after a while, it got a bit boring, didn't it?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, for all people's talk about, you see middle-aged men posting about being lone wolves and stuff. It's like you know how much you actually need to interact with people so that you don't go mad and pull your hair out type thing.
Fucking lone wolves, Jesus Christ.
Bloody
So
awfulness.
define success for Acid Age in 2024, Jude. What are the goals?
Um, do you know the way you're supposed to say like I'm just in it for the music and I'm passionate about my art and my craft? Well, I would like a 1968 Dodge Charger, and I would like a house in Malibu, and I would like a dojo in Japan, and
Nice.
I'd like a wall of Marshall amps that you can see from space, and just every guitar I want.
Gold
So
discs.
you know.
The wall behind you covered in gold discs.
I suppose that too. I don't mind if it's gold discs or Spotify streams, really, but as long as the walk is coming in, right?
Yeah,
So
here the two shall meet.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Ah, that's perfect. Okay, I'm gonna wind it down unless you have anything else to add into it, Joe.
No, I was just going to say, dude, like I'm really, really looking forward to the next record, man. And I
Yeah.
think that like it was such a brilliant leap in quality from the stuff that he's had done before to the record. So I think everyone was sort of sitting being like, "Wow, this is going to be great!" Like, you know.
Yeah, thank you. I,
And
I,
and as well, Jude, your live performances have been fantastic, man. I mean, you really work hard at that, and it's a great asset to have. especially as a three-piece, you know, that you're genuinely looking forward to seeing a three-piece like yourselves and just really enjoying it for what it is, you know. So
Yeah, it's been awesome. So, well, thank you so much, guys. It means a lot that you both had me and being able to, even with COVID and stuff, that I was able to do this because when we agreed to do this, Richie, I was in perfect health, you know. I was
yeah,
really looking forward to it. And then from the start of the week, I've just been crashing, you know. So
yeah. Well, we can put an old mark in time there on January. This is
yeah,
what
yeah,
Jude was feeling like, and hopefully we'll say December next year when Acid Age are up for album of the year, man. We'll
I,
we'll definitely raise a glass or two to that, won't we, Joe?
Yep, certainly, man. Can't
So
wait.
watch this space. Keep an eye on Acid Age socials, the live in Belfast one, which I'm really looking forward to hearing. It should be out February, early March, all goes well. And maybe we might have a single off you by summertime, Jude, hopefully.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Jude, say hello to Jake and Aaron as well for us, won't you?
I will do, absolutely. And thank
Yeah.
you so much.
And thanks again, Joe, for coming on the show.
No worries, man. Hope you feel better soon, Jude. And I'll see you soon, guys.
Yeah, happy New Year, guys.
Yeah, so
Cheers.
you were listening to Jude from Acid Age, and keep an eye out for the live album. It's coming out at the end of February, as I said. Keep an eye on their socials. I'm sure that's another aspect, Jude, you're going to have to brush up on over the next few months. It's a task that nobody likes doing. And crucially, everybody, support your local metal scene.